Hi everybody! Today we're going to be doing my homework. This is from lesson 2 of the Minna No Nihongo book. So my homework never comes with English directions. The only direction that I have is please make sentences with the examples. So we do get examples, sometimes multiple in this case, and we're going to figure out what they're saying so we can figure out what's being asked of us. So our first example, I love how they have these cute little robot guys. The first example is one robot is holding a magazine and he's pointing to it, and another robot is watching. And so he is saying right here, it shows, Kore wa zashi desu. Kore wa zashi desu, which means this is a magazine. Kore is when it's close to the speaker. Sore is when it's close to the listener. And are is when it's far away from both people. So kore wa zashi desu. This is a magazine. Example 2, the person is pointing at a notebook that the second robot is holding. So he's pointing at him. We know he's the speaker, and he says, Sore wa noto desu. Sore wa noto desu, which means that is a notebook. That is a notebook. Sore wa noto desu. Example number 3, we see there is a dictionary and it's far in the distance from both of the robots. And they say, Are wa jisho desu. Are wa jisho desu. And because it's far away from both of them could say that. Are wa jisho desu. And it's that over there. That is a dictionary. So for example number 1 of our questions, we have the speaker robot is pointing to a bag or a briefcase that the other robot is holding, and he's going to be saying, Sore wa kaban desu. Sore wa kaban desu. Remembering that sore wa is that near the listener, and kaban is bag or briefcase. Sore wa kaban desu. In example number 2, the first robot is holding a key and he is pointing at the key in his hand. So he's going to be saying, Kore wa kagi desu. Kore wa, this right here, kagi desu, it's a key. This is a key. Kore wa kagi desu. And example number 3 in the background, away from both of the robots, is a television. So they're going to be saying are because it's far away. Are wa terebi desu. Are wa terebi desu. So we're looking at a different type of question in this section. So again, our directions is please make sentences with the examples. We also have a little direction where we see noun 1, no, noun 2. And we know that noun 1 is giving more information about noun 2. Noun 2 is always the most important noun. So noun 1, no, noun 2. So in our example, we see a key, and in a little thought bubble, we see a car. So it's saying our most important part is that key, but where does it go to? It goes to a car. And our example sentence to understand what they're trying to ask us to create is kore wa. So we're going to assume that we're holding all of these items. Kore wa kuruma no kagi desu. Kore wa kuruma no kagi desu. Remembering that kuruma is car and kagi is key. So for our example number 1, we're going to start with kore wa because we're assuming we are holding it. Kore wa ego no shinbun desu. Kore wa ego no shinbun desu. Ego being English and shinbun being newspaper. Kore wa ego no shinbun desu. Example 2, or I'm sorry, question 2, is we have a card and we see in the thought bubble it's for a bank. So again, kore wa, what's our first bit of information that's helping to understand noun 2? So noun 1 would be ginko no karo desu. Kore wa ginko no karo desu. Example, or question number 3, we have a dictionary and we know that is the German flag, so it's a German dictionary. So kore wa, because we're holding it, kore wa doitsu no jisho desu. kore wa doitsu no jisho desu. So we have two more questions for the same type of question, same type of sentence creation. So I like when she throws in words that we haven't learned yet. So here she shows a key, and the thought bubble is it's a house key. But we haven't learned the word for house yet. She notates here that we're going to learn that in chapter 3. So she put the word for it, but it's also a bonus lesson within our homework. So I love that. So our sentence for this would be kore wa uchi no kagi desu. Kore wa uchi no kagi desu. This is a house key. Kore wa uchi no kagi desu. And our last question of this type of sentence structure, we see a book, and the book is about cars. So we'll say, Kore wa kuruma no hon desu. Kore wa kuruma no hon desu. All right, so moving on to a different set of questions. These are actually going to be two parts. They're question and answer sentences that we're creating based off of the photos and the example that they give us. So our example is the notebook over here to the left. The notebook says Karina on it, Karina. So we know this is Karina's notebook. So looking at our example answer up here at the top, number 6, it says, Kore wa dare no noto desu ka? So first we know it's a question because it has ka at the end. And kore wa, let's break it down by part. Kore wa is this right here. So we'll assume again that all of these items are close to us, the speaker making these sentences. Kore wa dare, dare was our question word for who. Dare no noto desu ka? Notebook. So we're asking, whose notebook is this? This notebook, whose is it? Kore wa dare no noto desu ka? And the answer to that is Karina-san no noto desu. Karina-san no noto desu. To my understanding, the kore wa has already been said, so you can say kore wa Karina-san no noto desu, or you can just say Karina-san no noto desu. It's Karina's notebook. So our question number 1, we see a purse or a bag, and we know that's kaban, kaban, and we see the name on it is Yamada, Yamada. Again, I'm not great at pronouncing Japanese names too, so if I'm saying them wrong, please let me know in the comments on how to better pronounce Japanese names or even how to practice Japanese names. I think that might be the hardest part of my homework sometimes. So our question in the same sentence structure as we have in our example would be Kore wa dare no kaban desu ka? Kore wa dare no kaban desu ka? And our answer is going to be Yamada-san no kaban desu. Yamada-san no kaban desu. It's Yamada's bag. Question number 2. We see a camera, and on the very, very small name tag there, I think it says Santosu. Santosu. So we're going to go with that. So our question is going to be, Kore wa dare no kamera desu ka? Kore wa dare no kamera desu ka? And our answer is going to be Santosu-san no kamera desu. Santosu-san no kamera desu. Kamera, kamera desu. So I'm going to work on my pronunciation as I go too. Always good to correct ourselves as we go. So again, with that question was Kore wa dare no kamera desu ka? And the answer was Santosu-san no kamera desu. So our final 2 questions, we have picture number 3, and we have a umbrella, which is casa, casa, and we see a name tag on it that says Sato, Sato. So our question is going to be, Kore wa dare no casa desu ka? Kore wa dare no casa desu ka? And that is, whose umbrella is this? Whose umbrella is this? And our answer is going to be Sato-san no casa desu. Sato-san no casa desu. And that is Santos' umbrella. And number 4, we see over here a teco. Is like a planner, not just a notebook, a planner. So our question is going to be, Kore wa dare no teco desu ka? Kore wa dare no teco desu ka? Whose planner is this? Whose planner is this? Kore wa dare no teco desu ka? And our answer is Mira-san no teco desu. Mira-san no teco desu. It's Mr. or Mrs. Mira's. It's Mr. and Mr. Mira's teco. So that's all of our practice on creating sentences and using our vocab words that I have in my homework for lesson 2. So let's go ahead and let's practice our hiragana. So the first hiragana that we're going to learn in this week's homework is ma. Ma. So we're going to practice writing the hiragana. Now it is admittedly much harder on the computer than it is with a pen and paper, but I've also noticed that looking at the hiragana in different fonts, handwritten, different fonts on the computer, really helps you to memorize them, because just like, for example, in English A or a Romaji A, you could do like this or like this. So it's going to be different in different fonts too. Maybe not that different, but it's always good to be practicing in many different ways. So with our stroke pattern, we've got line 1 looking at this top example, line 2 flat across, line 3 is coming just off of center, down and loop. So let's practice that across. I encourage you to grab a pen and paper and to practice with me. We have several to go through, so just pause the video, grab a pen and paper, and let's practice them together. So line 1, 2, down, and loop. And that loop looks a little flatter to me than what I'm doing, so I'm going to try to flatten my loop at the bottom, down, and flat. Now, when I'm practicing my hiragana, I like to draw it and then say the sound, ma. Every time that I draw it or I read it, when I'm trying to memorize it, like flashcards or something, I want to say ma. So the bottom section has no grid, so we're going to do our best to look through what we did and ma. 5 more. Line down, flat, ma. I think my lines across the center are getting a little bit big, so I'm just going to I keep glancing back up at the examples to try to kind of correct myself as I go and better that writing of the hiragana. That one looks a bit better, I think so. Line 1, line 2, 3 down, flat circle, ma. And let's try to end strong. 1, 2, line down, and this is the hiragana ma. Our next hiragana that we're going to be practicing is mi. So let's go ahead and let's practice writing our hiragana for mi. So we see that the first line comes across and down sharp, kind of like a 7, a small loop and out, and then line 2 comes down at a slight curve. So as I practice this, I'm going to say that I have heard that the stroke order is very important when it comes to writing hiragana. So let me know in the comments too, is this something is this like one of the test things where they want to make sure you're writing it in the correct order? Or is it just like it will look different if you write in a different pattern? Or it's just preferred but not really required? Let me know. So this was mi, mi, mi. So I feel like, again, on pen and paper, this one's going to be a lot easier, but it's not too bad. Meet. I feel like this one, somebody would be able to know which hiragana I wrote. It's definitely not perfect, but that's what practicing is for. Meet. And each time we write it and we say it, we're committing it to memory. Meet. That one's a little funky. Meet. And our last one, let's finish strong. Not as strong as I hoped, but you know what? That's learning for you. So this is the hiragana mi. Our next hiragana is mu. Mu. Let's practice writing the hiragana mu. So with my pen here, we are going to start with line 1. So we've got these 4 quadrants. I'm going to start up in this top left with line 1. Line 2 is going to cross through. We make a circle on the side, a nice big fish hook up, and then line 3 is this little tick line here. So again, 1, 2, and 3. Take your time with it sometimes too. Sometimes we need to go slow, even if we've got a lot of writing space here to try it many times. Line 1, line 2, and line 3. I like this one because this one looks a little different than a lot of the characters, so I feel like this one is going to be a little bit easier to memorize just because it's not going to be as confusing with the other characters. And this is mu. Mu. So we'll try it without our guidelines. Well, I don't think that one looks half bad. If you were reading hiragana and you were looking for the character mu, would you know that this was the hiragana mu? I feel like I would. And my penmanship is terrible. Even in Romaji letters, you know, it's terrible. So I'm pretty happy with this one here for the hiragana mu. And one more to practice, the hiragana mu. Mu. Our next hiragana is me. Me. The character me only has 2 lines. So we're going to see here that it's crossing down the left side on a slight angle. And then number 2 is going to leave just a little hair, it looks like, past the swoop. It's going to go down and around and curve, not quite come back to touch it. So we'll be starting that here. It's about even. Leave just a little bit. Not a good first start, but let's do better with the second one. That's what learning's about. So I was so focused on that bottom line, I missed the top. There we go. So it's almost like a V, but don't quite hit that bottom. Circle it around and stop. Down. Me. 1 and 2. Me. Now I'm getting too close to that line, so I'm going to go back over here a little bit more. Here. And back around. Me. Now we'll try it without the guidance lines. Okay, I don't think that's so bad. That's progress. Me. Me. 1, 2, me. Every now and then I look back up at the character that I'm supposed to be drawing and realize, oh, it needs to come out further or down more. So I'm leaving a little more space. Looking back up here, needs a little bit more room for that swirl. So we'll just take it out a little further. Meh. Meh. We're going to pretend that it ended here because I think this was my more struck one. And that is hiragana, meh. This is our last M hiragana, and this hiragana is mo. Mo. So mo has 3 lines, and it looks like our fish hook here comes first. So down and up, and then line on the top and line on the bottom. The line on the bottom's coming right at like that middle line of our quadrants here. So down, fish hook, line 1 and line 2. Let's get that a little closer to center. Down and fish hook, line 1, line 2. And let's start it a little bit taller now. Fish hook, line 1, line 2. And this is mo. 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 I do not have any of these memorized yet. I had been doing better with my hiragana in the first 2 lessons, but I think that the more I got, the more that I realized there's so many similarities between each of the characters. Mo. And so I get them confused when one has just one extra line or anything like that. So I kind of look for mo. Look for like if it reminds me of something, just until I can really recognize and memorize those characters. I just try to find silly ways in my head to remember the hiragana. Mo. All right, that one was a little wonky. Let's try to end here nice and solid. So you got a good fish hook there. Get line 1 up a little bit higher and line 2 down about the middle. And that's the hiragana mo. So I was really excited to learn in my private lesson that the Ys only have 3 hiragana characters, so it's not the usual like ma, mi, mu, me, mo. There is only 3 for this hiragana. I don't know if that pattern continues or not because this is the farthest I've gotten in hiragana, but I think that my brain was about to explode by the time I got to the Ys, and I went, oh no, no more hiragana. Can we do it more next week? And she said there's only 3, so I will introduce you. Yeah, yeah. All right, so there's 3 lines for yeah. We have 1 line here. It's the sideways little fish hook. Tick line for number 2, and that comes right about at that center line. And number 3 is a straight line down on an angle, and it kind of stops right at that center line. So line 1, 2, 3. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. I know it's not beautiful, but the more I practice, it's going to be. It's going to be because we are going to put in the work because, we're going to be in Japan in 5 months, and I want to be able to read the minimum and to understand the minimum of ordering food and shopping in a store and to be able to read some of the things that are on the shelf. I know I'm not going to understand kanji by that time, but being able to understand some basics like this is just going to be so helpful. And where there's a will, there's a way, and I'm just really determined to learn it. So it's not beautiful now. You don't need to lie to me and tell me it is. If you have a better like study technique, please let me know so that I can improve and be my best. But this is, yeah. My penmanship already in English is terrible, so I at least think I'll get to the point where I can really, read through the hiragana pretty confidently. But whether or not somebody's going to be able to read my hiragana, it's already questionable in English. So this is the hiragana. Yeah. Our second hiragana in the Y's is you. You. I know I'm probably going to be speaking too soon, but seeing this, I feel like this one is going to be easier to write. And I like when the hiragana doesn't look like other hiraganas because they're so much easier to memorize for me, like chi and tsu. They're so different than other characters. So this one right here, which was you, it's very different, and I like that. So for line 1, we're going to go down and circle back up. And for line 2, it's going to come straight down the center. Again, it kind of looks like a fish and down the center. Okay, I did speak too soon, but again, pen and paper, I think that this will look much better. So again, I need to make this line smaller. Really round it out, come just past the center and down. Okay, that's better. You circle it back and down. You. So no guidance here. Circle back and a line down. Back and down. You. And I'm looking at this line again and I'm seeing it's slightly curved. So we're going to constantly improve and change. Let's try to give it a little bit of curve. I wish that my computer was a touch screen, but it is not. Are you guys doing good? Are you practicing in your notebook, your noto? I hope so. You. We have made it to the last hiragana in my lesson, and this hiragana is yo. Yo. All right, so to rate the hiragana yo, we are going to start with the first tick line to the side here. It's just small. Line 2 is going to come straight about down that center line, a flat curve, and stop. So one thing, I don't know if I said this in any of my other hiragana that I was writing, but I keep getting like slap on the wrist for continuing my letter. For example, when we come down here, I'm lazy and I just kind of slump off to this side. Maybe not as dramatic as that, but we want to be careful that our hiragana doesn't start looking like another character. So we're going to try really hard. I'm going to write just slightly off this center line here so you can see it. We're going to try really hard to just stop where it looks like it stops. It looks like it stops about where that side line stops. So out to the side, down, and circle flat. And this was our hiragana yo. Yo. 5 more practice yo to go. All right. I think that I can do better. So let's try here, really controlling the size of these lines. I think that one would be recognizable. You let me know, but I think that this as the hiragana iyo is recognizable. And it will get better with time. Yo. And our last attempt for practicing the hiragana yo. So we have finished all of my practice sentences with my vocab and my hiragana practice for my homework of lesson 2 of the Minna No Nihongo book. And remember that in 5 months, I'm going to be going to Japan. So we're going to see how much of this that we're learning is able to help me in Japan to order at restaurants, to shop and order my own products, and have general just niceties and conversations with those around me. So thank you so much for studying with me, and catch me on the next video.